again, coming back to the leadership side of it, it's a focus on service. A lot of times we as employees say we got to please the boss. So we're thinking about service upward. We're not necessarily thinking about service sideways or downward. And I had a nice conversation with one of my employees years back. I still remember his name, Tom Muir. I can visualize me sitting across the desk from him in his office. And I was asking him, what are things I can do to help you? And he said to me, well, let me give you a story. And he said, you know how you could be the coach of a bunch of hurdlers, track racing, hurdling, team of hurdlers. What's our objective? Our objective is to get to the finish line first. We'll be a good team when all of us get to the finish line before all of the competition. So what's the role, even though it may not be legal, what's the role of the best coach? Is to be a few steps ahead of the runner and knock down each hurdle. Is every one of your team members gets to the finish line before everybody else. Now, of course, you can't do that in a real race. You can't do that in real life. But you can do that if you have a service orientation to your team, because you're in a position, you have the authority, you have the responsibility, you have the resources, the connections that many of them never have, never will, just because of hierarchy. But if you can knock down hurdles for them, then your team can win. So as you're working with your team, knocking down the hurdles, the one other thing you can do to develop the right continuous improvement is to reinforce the right behaviors. Okay, it's one thing to knock the hurdles down. The other thing is, what are they going to do? And there's a great book by Aubrey C. Daniels. It's called Bringing Out the Best in People, How to Apply the Astonishing Power of Positive Reinforcement. And boy, I read that book several times and a number of others of his books. Aubrey C. Daniels, The Power of Positive Reinforcement. And the short story there is, like we train animals, they're not going to get it right the first day. So you have to reinforce any movement in the right direction. Trying to change culture in an organization, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen with every person. But we have to look for their intent to try to help the team, their intent to move that boulder a little bit further along, a little further up the hill, whatever. And as we leaders find the ways to connect with them and reinforce that behavior that's moving in the right direction, they all start moving in the right direction. And that flywheel effect keeps building momentum, building steam, building power. And like John Maxwell says, teamwork makes the dream work. When they're all working together, when they've been positively reinforced for their attempts to get better and better, they'll keep wanting to get better and better. And if you're service oriented to them, with them, for them, and they're working their side of the equation to keep trying to do better, it works.